Hey.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. Oh, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the dojo. Wait, what? Yeah. All right.
Oh, we're live. Hello, everybody.
Oh God, I'm hearing myself back. Sorry about that.
Yes.
all
Infinite loop.
I'm very much a professional. I'm not professional at all. Right, it's good to be here. Hope you're all having a good day today. We are here, and we're going to be talking about the new character which was revealed on the Warriors Den stream just yesterday. And sorry, I'm just looking at the various, making sure I've got more channels in the right place. We're going to be talking about this fancy pirate and what we think of the hero and how we think it's going to play, if it's going to impact the competitive meta, and all those kind of things. So yeah, with us here we've got Nutella. Hello.
Hi, it's me. I'm Nutella.
And we've got Norgos here. Oh, hey Norgos.
He is muted right now.
Oh, he's muted
Just
right
chilling,
now.
low-key.
We got Normie here.
I'm playing Tarkov, don't bother me.
And we got Norgos as well. Hey there, Norgos, and anybody else who wants to join us in Dojo chat to give your opinions and what you think of the first impressions. You're welcome to come and join us. So yeah, I guess to start off, we'll talk about what this character can do. So it's a pirate. R. And it's only one body type. There we go. Literally a pirate. She has a cutlass and she has a pistol, a flintlock pistol, and she uses both of them in her moveset, which would be weird if she didn't use either of them, I guess. And yeah, so that's kind of exciting. Apparently it's the first character in Formula that's had two really distinct weapons, which makes sense. So instead of like a sword and a knife, or an axe and a knife, she's got a sword and a gun, which is pretty much as different as you get. She is based off this famous Chinese pirate queen, whose name escapes me. Feel free to chip in if you remember it well.
Probably butcher anyways.
Zhang Yi Tao, yeah.
Jingyi Tao. Okay, well,
Jing
I mean,
I have
my
the first name right. Or
yeah,
I guess
something-
family name.
pirate queen. Like it's not like my Chinese pronunciation is at all. I've never learned it, so sorry. So yeah, it's sorry. I'm gonna turn this stream on to 1 second. Put it on stream mode, and then I won't get little plinky plinks distracting me. So yeah, let's start off with talking about her moveset. She has the basic 2-hit chains, light, heavy, light, and light, heavy. And her light finishers are undodgeable, and her heavy finishers are hyper armored. So similar to Kyoshin, except with a hyper armor on the heavy finishers. So those are like her very basic kit. Yeah, it's a little like Tiandi's, just like the two hit chains. What she also has is after any heavy attack, she can do a pistol shot. So on the heavy attacks that land, it's confirmed for 5 damage, which turns the total into I think 25 and 27 damage respectively. Which I guess the finishers is actually on the low side for 27 damage. I think they're
Also, they
22.
don't execute at like that's an extra point to make. They don't execute.
Yeah,
because
they don't execute. So the guaranteed gunshot doesn't execute. But if the heavy is blocked, then she can go into a non-guaranteed version of it, which is they think it's a direct damaging bash.
14 damage, direct damage back.
14 damage and 500 milliseconds. I think they said on the stream it's going to be 500 milliseconds. Yeah. So this gives after the blocked heavies the classic blue-orange mix-up that we all know and love. But fairly low damage because it's the light. The lights are finishes I think 14 damage and the bash is 14 damage as well. So, but she can chain onto it after any heavies, including the heavy finishers. So she can go after her heavy finishers. She can go into the bash again, and while she can't go into the lights again, she can still go into bash, and she can mix it up with other things. So the other things that she can mix it up with is that, like Gladiator, in fact, it's exactly the same as Gladiator, she can do a backstep heavy anywhere in her chains after any attack, which is an unblockable attack, as you just saw then. It does 30 damage, so it's quite a high damage attack. And if you land it on the opponent and don't do anything, you like do a little special knee attack, which pushes them backwards and can wall splat them. So it's a little bit like Gladiator's skewer in that it can wall splat people, but you can't pick the direction of it. You also seen that it does like every other heavy, it does a guaranteed pistol bash on hits.
So they said on the stream you can basically cancel the pin itself with a gunshot, and you can also cancel with a dodge, so you can avoid the attacks being thrown at you.
Yeah.
Or you can just set up continue for the knee.
Yeah.
So you have 3
So-
outcomes for the pin.
So it's kind of it's probably a sort of a gank tool. Really, we haven't we'll see how it works with in fours. It'll end up being a gank tool because it'll be a pinning attack like Centurions or Gladiators. The duration doesn't look super long, so I don't know how easy it'll be to confirm and for an ally to confirm and then land a heavy on. But I think it'll probably be a bit. We don't know what the knockback from this knee is. It might be possible to land it and then wait for it to just like
You
go
also
ahead
don't
again.
have to knock back as damage reduced, or if the pistol shot will be successful.
Yeah. These are all things to
Or how
test.
delayable the pistol shot.
Yeah, I mean, they on the stream it looked static timing, so
I would expect it to be.
yeah. So Robokarate says if the skill wall splats, it's 55 damage. That is likely, although the gunshot, if it's wall splat, might get damage reduced. A little bit like how if you throw Shinobi throws a wall splat and then he gets it heavy and then guaranteed light, it's the second light is damage reduced. So it might end up being slightly less than 55, so maybe like 51 or 52 damage, depending on.
Probably
Well,
52.
it'll probably round up to 52, but it'll probably be like 51 and a bit.
Yeah.
Because I think the damage reduction is 80% on wall splats, something along those lines. Yeah. So I guess the other thing that she's got is a forward dodge unblockable heavy. Oh, yeah, we've mentioned that as well before we move on. She can soft feint her unblockable pinning heavy into a guard break, and the guard break soft feint is faster than the regular hard feint soft feint. So that's harder than, my goodness, sorry, faster than the regular guard break soft feint, and it's the same speed as a hard feint GB would be, except that because it's a soft feint, it goes directly into it. So instead of being at the feint timing, it hits 300 milliseconds after the feint timing instead of 400 milliseconds like a regular soft feint guard break, or 500 milliseconds like a hard feint guard break, because they have 200 milliseconds delay and then a 300 ms guard break. So it's going to be faster, which means it'll likely catch dodge attacks significantly better than you'd expect for an unblockable of that speed. So I think off heavy hits off like it's blocked heavies, or probably off the chain bash, because you can chain after the gunshot. I can't remember if I mentioned that before. Into any finishers or into this chain pinning move as well. So after that, I think it will be very hard to dodge attack and beat the feint to guard break. Maybe some monitors. Sorry, I read chat and said monitors. Some dodge attacks, which have very fast startups, might be able to avoid it. But in general, soft feints to guard break, which have heavy hits done beforehand, and particularly fast ones as well, is more likely to catch dodge attack startups. So we don't know. Well, it'll need testing, but I think the likelihood is that it will catch most dodge attacks. So that should be quite powerful. The other thing she has side dodge heavies, which you can use to punish bashes and anything else for that matter. And they also, as they're heavies, they go into the bash mix up. So if they hit, they guarantee they're only 10 damage, but if they land, they guarantee a 10 damage bash, and if 5 damage gunshot, and if they're blocked, you can go into the chain bash mix up. There we go. There we see one of them there, and then he's going into the chain bash mix-up off that. Very nicely done. So that's and we said she had a forward dodge heavy as well. So that's the side dodge heavy is a defensive moves, and a forward dodge heavy is a hyper armored unblockable. So it looks like it starts quite early into the dodge, and this is probably going to be her main opener. It's got the same fast soft feint as the other one, as the chain skewer does. It chains into the bash on hits, so you then go into all the same options as you would have, like the heavy finishers, or the pin again, or the light undodgeables. We'll get onto the feats in a little bit, Darth. So yeah, that's probably going to be her main opener. As for how effective that'll be, we can talk a little about how effective that'll be as an opener in a bit. It kind of depends on the guard break vulnerability of the startup, the hyper armor startup, which looks to be at the faint timing, judging from the flash of color. Hyper armors have the white flash, and it doesn't do a huge amount of damage. I think it does 14 damage plus the 5 guaranteed one, so it's only a 19 damage unblockable. So it's actually quite low damage, but I guess it is available from neutral quite quickly.
And that would start up her, because from the bash you can then continue to go back into finishes. The bash act starter.
Yeah.
So you have infinite.
Yeah. And finally, the final thing about her, which is probably going to tie everything together on her new set, is that she can dodge, cancel, a recovery of everything. Finger quotes according to the devs. So, like Orochi, everything she can do, she can cancel into a dodge, and that will allow her to go into the forward dodge and blockable mix-up of anything, or go into the side dodge heavies to avoid incoming damage. And that's probably going to be really important for her as a team fighter, because by the looks of her moves, I don't know, maybe the side heavies will have a decent hitbox, but her weapon is quite short, so I think it's likely that she's not going to have the best hitboxes. And if she is going to have, maybe the dodge attacks there that we saw might have good hitboxes, but the unblockables are stabs, and her heavy finishes don't look like they have giant sweeps, but I don't know. She's also got the standard running attack and zone attack. The zone seems quite slow. I think the
Zone
JC
600 MS.
600 ms. I mean, he said it's not the fastest, which presumably means 600 ms.
Some people frame check the stream.
Oh, okay. I don't know if people frame checked yet, so I should actually check this little summary page. There's a page on the comp sub where people have put a bunch of information taken from the stream, so you can read that if you want to get a little bit more information on the hero. I would recommend heading to that. I'll put the link in chat, or maybe I'll put the link in chat. I don't know. Yeah, okay. I'll grab it now. Let's do it now. It's pinned on the comp sub, so you can check it out yourself. Hope that Autumn Mod doesn't remove it from there. So yeah, that's her move set. It's quite, the devs said they wanted to give it to be quite basic in terms and easy to use, but versatile. And I think they're probably aiming for that by having the dodge cancels and everything, and the bashes all leading into her chains again. So she's gonna probably feel a little bit like Janhu in terms of flow between moves. She can't use her zone in chain though, so that's some difference to Janhu as well. But I think it should be interesting. We'll certainly have a lot of freedom in the moveset, I think. And now I guess we're going to move on to her feats. Unsurprisingly, they almost all use her gun. So
Well,
yeah,
they use a gun.
They use a gun.
Guns.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a gun that she has them on. I'm thinking it's her
They're
gun.
all her guns.
All right, so the first one, the tier 1, is looking like a fast bullet shot. So it's like Kunai or Fiery Tusk. It does 10 damage, and it applies what we've worked out is a 20% debuff, judging by the extra damage they take I'm not quite sure how long that lasts for, the debuff. Maybe like 15 seconds. It's not like a very long debuff.
Okay. Tell me they had recoveries on fast, please.
These
Oh yeah, they
recoveries are
definitely would have had feat recoveries on fast. Yeah.
Okay, because I see like 20-second recovery on tier 1 feat and I cry.
yeah.
No,
This is
20.
definitely not gonna be how it is in life.
Yeah,
It is. You can bet
yeah.
on
If
it
it
might
is,
be 20.
that'd be bonkers. But I almost certain it's fast and light because somebody timed all these values, and they came out at like really weird numbers, and all the feet
They're not
feet
round
cooldowns.
numbers, which beats numbers.
Yeah, normally
Either
around
round or
numbers.
multiples of 5.
Yeah, and this was
Or-
also like 33 seconds
Yeah,
and
exactly.
47.
If I
or something.
recall correctly, the devs said that they specifically wanted the tier 1 to be almost always available, so that one should be relatively low.
That's
I mean,
so
it'll probably be
broken.
relatively low, but
Depends on
Yeah.
what they mean by available, because it is a tier 1 feat,
True.
so you'll
Yeah, I
have it
mean,
from the start of the game. So even a like 70-second cooldown will be felt every time. It'll probably be in like 60 or 90. That's usually what they put
yeah,
for.
they have. They vary between things like Fiery Tusk on what's his face on Jan, who is available every 45 seconds, and then one like Corruption Blade on Warmonger is available every 90 seconds. So I think he'll probably fall somewhere between that. I would estimate it's going to be on the higher end of that.
Yeah, considering probably confirmed as she has this feet fast flow mechanic where she can use her feet in place of her gun. So theory right now is that if your gun's confirmed, the feat's confirmed.
Yeah, by the looks of things. So
Yeah.
things like her heavies go from doing 20 damage plus 5 to doing 20 plus 10 damage, and then
And
having
debuff.
applying a debuff, for example.
Or 20 plus trick shot, which we'll get to.
Yep, we'll get to that in a short while. So I guess we'll skip ahead to trick shot because you mentioned it. So the tier 3 feat is another one that uses her pistol, and it shoots it's called trick shot. It shoots a bullet that bounces off opponents and bounces up to 3 times, so it can hit 4 opponents. And each time it hits them, does 10 damage, and we think 30 bleed. So,
40 damaged.
Ooh, this is gonna get nerfed very fast. Ooh.
yeah.
Depends on the cooldown, honest. But,
Well, even I mean the cooldown, if it's the same as like longbows, then I think it would need a nerf. If it's longer than longbow, it would be weird because there's very few I think there's some tier 3s that have got 150-second cooldown, aren't there? I think
yep.
Sharpened Blades is 150 seconds, but I don't think it's likely to have tier 4 levels of cooldown.
I
You
mean,
can do though,
was it 40 times 4? Yeah, man.
yeah, I mean that's potentially what it is.
That's
They
the
do
max
say that you
damage you
can.
get, though. But that also means no one dodges, and the first guy gets hit, the second guy gets hit, etc. Because if one person dodges, they said the chain is broken, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, makes sense, but I don't know. In the middle of a team fight, it's gonna be really funny.
yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I think this of all the feats that we've seen, this is the one that's most likely to be broken.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, obviously in 4 stacks when you're going to have it when it releases, everybody running around with 8 pirates. There are going to be a lot of bullets flying around. Just put it that way.
Juxtapose that, though. The tier 2 looks like it is one of the worst uniques out there. Maybe beating its curious tier.
Yeah. Go. Do you want to take it over?
Yeah, you'll see it here soon. It's cool animation. A 25 damage bomb. That's it. And
It's
depending on
great.
the cooldown of this, it could either be worse than Chilin Ruse.
Doesn't seem to have a very large AoE. It seems to take quite a while to explode, and because it's so small, it'll be very easy to get out of range of that.
Oh,
It's shitty arrow strike.
Yeah, there's like 4 things here. It's competing against Arrow Strike and Chilin Ruse, which are 2 really deep beats. Arrow Strike's 45 damage, lands when you tell it to. Chilin Ruse can have utility of staying on the floor, and it also has the fact that since it's fire, you can't really roll it. Because DOT doesn't work like that, especially with Chilin Ruse.
Yeah.
Can't just iframe it like that. But in this case, it's a 25 damage bomb that you first have to do this really long-winded animation. It does look cool, I won't lie, but it is a long-winded animation where you do a whole step back, and then you bounce off your blade, then it lands, then it primes.
Yeah.
You
So
have way too much time to move, and then, assuming you want to use the feet fast flow mechanic this hero has, and that means you have to throw a feet lock done. And if you haven't noticed, using feats locked on lead to things like which we call Raven Flasks, where flasks fly 5 miles behind a person.
yeah.
Raven Flask is King
Yeah.
of the Past. We have Nature Flask now.
Okay.
That's now they okay. I thought they were Legion Flask. They're named
Their name changes because it's whoever relies of locked on flasks. But
Yeah,
the issue
yeah.
is locked on flasks because locked on bombs, like fire flasks, throw towards the chest of a player. So if they dodge, it will go like 5 miles behind the player rather than looking
Yeah.
at the feet of the player and throwing it where they used to be. That's a bug or intended mechanic, we're not sure, but that's how feats work. So in-lock throwables are not so great. So this feat doesn't gel well with the rest of her kit at all.
Yeah, it's
Um,
I think it's that. Yeah, you're right. This one is definitely liable to, if there's
Yeah.
well, it depends on what her alternate choices are. But I think this is the one that's going to be swapped out.
Yeah. Assuming she has even a halfway decent alternate option, this will be thrown away. This
Yeah.
is not a good feat in any regard. It's not
Give
even
Jug,
large
give
enough
Jug.
to clear mid.
Wait. You guys are forgetting the Tony Montana effect. Say hello to my little friend.
Oh, well, that's the tier
No?
4.
Really? Nobody?
No, this is, I mean,
Y'all
like
Grenade
suck.
launcher, yes. I mean, I'm just so disappointed in this feat. It looks cool, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. Maybe they'll like readjust it.
Maybe if it was an impact grenade,
yeah,
maybe.
if it blew up as soon as it hit the person, then that might make it
Yeah.
work.
But
Or
right
if,
now, you have long animation into small radius that has a second to prime.
yeah,
That's not
and
going to
we'll
kill
see-
anyone. Not even going to hit anyone. 25 damage. Healing Ruse is 35 damage.
Yep, and it also well it depends on the cooldown as well. If you can do that every 45 seconds, like you can with what's his face with
Yeah. But
then it might
if
be
the
alright.
cooldown's any
Annoying.
further than 45 seconds, this feat is terrible.
Yeah. So we'll move on to now the tier 4, which is called Gunpowder Surprise. Yeah, you can come and join in the Discord later on. But we're just doing like the covering it, and then we'll try and do more discussion after we've like covered all the stuff.
So this is Gunpowder Surprise. It's as they even said in the stream, it's basically Yomaganda's tier 4 but ranged. It also looks to have a bigger AoE, and it
yeah,
does
it
more
looks like
damage.
it's got a really big AoE. I'd say that's a bigger AoE than Fire Flask.
Yeah.
By
That's basically a Fire Flask that knocks everyone over. It does stagger your own teammates, but it doesn't knock them over.
so it does 40 damage, which is
40
more than
direct damage, and then you could probably combo that up with Trick Shot, a confirmed Trick Shot. So in the middle of a team fight, say you got this on 4 people, you could basically get equivalent to a Fury Flask. But, well, no, Fury Flask
no,
is
it'll be like a
that's
Fire
not-
Flask essentially.
It's just a regular Fire Flask.
Yeah.
You'd get 80 damage straight up if you Trick Shotted after doing this and it landed on 4 people.
Apiathys, yeah, you can come join in muted us if you want. That's absolutely fine. We'll just like we're back to doing the old style. Dojos are kind of quite chill because like none of us here know for certain any of these details, so you know we're just sort of giving the information away as it were. But yeah, I think this one it depends what his other tier. Oh, sorry, what her other tier 4s are going to be like. Because I can see this being picked if the other tier 4s aren't great. But if they have something like Fear itself, or
Speaking of Fear itself, I do want to know how the fast swim mechanic works with other active feats.
yeah, if she has other active feats as well.
Because if that works, you could probably do something funky like throw a light into Fury into a heavy or something like that. If they had Fury,
That'd
it'd
be
be
nuts.
kind of nuts to see. I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Yeah,
But assuming she has
other
also
active
got a
feats.
good choice of active feats, we might see this tech again. Hopefully, we do. It actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. I mean, I can definitely see the fast flow being a thing on, like where on Janhu, for example, and using his Qilin Ruse or Fiery Tusk in in chain, or even the tier 4 in chain. I can see it being on quite a lot of heroes. Maybe not longbows, but
Yeah. So also here on stream right now, you're gonna see this where the armor piercing slug is used instead of the pistol shot. That's what we're referring to when we say feat fast flow. So in this case, the tier 1 is confirmed because the heavy landed.
yeah,
So if you landed a dodge attack in a team fight, you then do trick shot, which could then lead to a chain reaction of everyone on the enemy team part. So this, like, our feats intertwine with a kit really well and have the potential to be really powerful. It now
yeah,
depends on how much, what the cooldown is and how easy it is to actually land attacks with her. So far, it does seem pretty reliable to land a heavy attack.
yeah. And you can use them off the blocked heavy like you would be able to, and
Yeah,
realistically,
you could use after a block heavy, but then it'd be a mix.
yeah, that's a good point. So, well, we'll see. I think they also showed that you can target swap with them, and the bullet ones you can use like your regular
Yeah,
feats. You
they're
can,
like regular projectiles. Don't also have to only use them in lock.
yeah. Oh, but I meant to say you can then chain off them as well. So the bullet shots count as chain openers, and I think you can dodge cancel them as well. So she's going to have a lot of mobility with her feats, and like I think probably that will end up meaning she's going to have quite a high skill ceiling because you'll be able to do some pretty wacky stuff with them, which I think is going to be pretty cool. Like, so he shows doing the tier 2. I mean, I don't know. Some of them might look like they might be confirmed off parries because the startups are quite fast. So
That
we'll
tier
see.
2, I do like how the Yorm had to walk into it to get her.
Yeah, you'll have to walk into it in order to get hit. But I think if the Kyoshin had side dodge rather than back dodge, it would be yeah. Can't wait for BP to flip a gun. I feel like BP will be able to flip the in-chain versions of this, almost guaranteed, because they are essentially the gun is a bash, a grab, then you shoot them. So you'd flip the grab rather than the gun itself. But we'll see if he can also flip the feats. That'll be funny if he can.
This is the target swapped gun. So he didn't use trick shot confirmed after Yorm. Instead, he used it unconfirmed on the ocean. So you can swap your pistol, which presumably means you can swap your chain bash around as well. You're not forced to just. I think they might have showed that as well. Like,
They did show it. They did show it. And they made
showed
a
it on
big
a
deal
hit.
out of it.
Yeah, so because while the bash is confirmed on hit, but you can if on block it's the non-confirmed one, but if you switch from a hit, it switches to the non-confirmed one as well. So they won't have like an instant 500 ms bash or instant 300 ms.
yeah, and it also means you can actually target swap. You're not locked into just you're not allowed to use the bash anymore because you hit someone.
Yeah, like
You are
how
allowed
it
to actually use your offense on someone else.
Yeah, so that's quite cool. I like that, and I think I think she will end up. I think it's likely she will have sort of a bit of an Orochi feel to her.
Yeah, I think she'll zip around in a
Orochi-
team fight, just harassing people.
Yeah, which could be pretty cool. I wonder if the knee kick from the impale will knock down. They did say it was a throw, but
It would
we
probably
don't
be
know.
an infinite if that happened, but I assume it won't.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it could knock down, then it's almost certainly would be an infinite because you could then backstep into light and then go another one, and you can do that with Gladiator Skewer and throw them over and over again. Except with Gladiator Skewer, they're regenerating stamina all the time, and it only does most of the damage is bleed. So if you wait that long to get all the bleed damage off,
And the
you're not
bleed
gonna-
doesn't stack, I'm glad. In
Oh,
this
and
case,
doesn't
this is hard damage.
hard damage would stack. So I imagine they've either they've realized that and it doesn't knock down outside opponents, or it'll be completely busted. And it's gonna be hilarious until it gets nerfed, which it probably will be. ZZ mentions that the tier 3 the bounce is going to feed tags. That is true. So you want to be careful for getting, and mostly bleed as well. So you do want to be careful to use it feed revenge, that then they pop their revenge, and then the bleed doesn't do anything. So it might end up being, it might end up not being as crazy powerful as you want. But I think in a team fight where everybody already has tags, it's going to be quite strong. They did say it can hit allies, but and it won't bounce off them. So potentially, if allies are in the way in between opponents, it won't. It will bounce off them and it will hit into them, and that will stop it from chaining. I don't know exactly how. We don't know what the exact range of the bounce is. They said close range, so we don't know if it's going to be like across a zone or within like a few feet. So it might end up that you have to choose your target really carefully, in case you shoot somebody in the middle of a group and then it bounces out and then doesn't bounce in again. You might need to sort of bounce it across. That's a good point there. Apiothus mentioning how will it work against people with stealth? Presumably,
Probably like every other projectile. So if they even slightly move, it'll whiff. I assume.
because if it works like if you can use it in chain and it's confirmed on heavies, so that won't make a difference.
Yeah, the confirmed one. If you shoot stealth target, I'm just saying if you expect it to ricochet to a stealth target, it'll probably fly by a stealth target.
You think so?
Yeah, because stealth avoids all projectile tracking.
Hmm.
Because even shurikens has some degree of tracking. Stealth just ruins all sorts of tracking.
I think you won't be able to hit them with the first one. I think the ricochet will hit anyways, because I don't think the ricochet is actually a projectile.
It's shown here. It does look like it actually has a projectile line.
Yeah, and you
I
can
assume you'd have to
dodge
dodge it as well.
I mean, they explicitly mentioned dodging it, so
Yeah.
presumably,
Because if it
but
wasn't
no,
be a
we don't know.
projectile,
Does
then it
that
wouldn't
mean?
have any
Yeah,
counterpoint.
does it mean that like it will actually like dot? So normally you couldn't even target somebody with stealth. So it wouldn't shoot towards them. You're saying, but if you're saying that maybe it will shoot towards them, but they'll be able to avoid it more easily just by moving, for example.
Wait, no, because like even now, if you have stealth, you can have projectile feet shot at you.
Yeah.
Like, in luck. But the point is that the projectile feet will not have any form of tracking on you. It'll shoot at where you were when the feet went off. So if you even slightly step to the right, it'll whiff. It does not have the usual magnetism that projectiles have.
Yeah, but
I assume the same thing will happen here.
Well, I think the question is, will it? Because you know when you're aiming out of lock, your reticule snaps to somebody unless they've got stealth.
Yeah.
The question is that the mechanic that's being used to target people from the ricochet? Maybe having stealth, Noodles, get off that. Sorry, my cat's being annoying. Maybe having stealth will prevent it from even bouncing onto you in the first place. So that is certainly something that we'll have to look into and test when the character comes out.
Yeah.
Which is good question. I think we should be writing some of these down so we have something to go back on and look into when we go into it when the character comes out, which will be on the 27th. They'll do the same thing for you buy it and you have early access for probably 2-3 weeks. Was it last time? Was it 3 weeks or 2 weeks last time?
It was 2 weeks. And
So
it's
it's
revealed
2
to be
weeks.
2
It was 2
too.
weeks.
They said 2 weeks as well.
Oh, it is 2 weeks. Okay, so it's 2 weeks. Mr. Blue just asked what Noodle's thoughts on Impale was. Did you just hear that there? I think her main critique is that it doesn't provide her with food. All right. So that's what we know of the hero so far. Shall we then talk about
Shinobi nerfs?
Oh yes, I guess we can. Well, can we? We'll talk a little about the Shinobi
Let's
nerfs.
leave that for last.
You'll leave that for last. On the stream.
It was a footnote at the end of the stream. It'll be a footnote at the end of our stream.
Yeah, like a nice symmetry going on there.
It's like the devs who don't care about symmetry.
So first off, let's talk about like the viability of the basic move set in terms of how well it will work in wands and in like in basic combat. So on paper, her openers are essentially blocked heavies, which aren't exactly great.
It does make her heavy like Nabushi's old one. Well, not confirmed, but the inverse.
It's like essentially it's like Lawbringer's heavy, right?
Yeah, Lawbringer's one.
Shove afterwards that he can catch you with a feint to guard break if you try and dodge. So in terms of accessing your, like everybody saw this character, they were like, oh, it's a blue orange hero. I actually think the blue-orange aspect of it is going to be fairly minimized.
I think
Because
this hero could do without the blue even, because the stuff paint seems fast enough to work for the bash as well.
yeah,
So when you
almost.
could shoot, you can also do the backstep heavy into stuff paint GB. So yeah, that does seem like it'd probably be the better option, considering it also get you more damage.
Yeah, significantly more damage. And it will give you, and it will keep you in frame advantage as well. Whereas if you, I mean, we don't know how, looking at the whole thing, it looks to be around the same speed as Skewer, which is 900 ms. Depending on the chain links, it might be interruptible. The Impale might be interruptible after a landed light. It's not such not such a big deal from the light openers, because you've got this chain hyper armor heavy, which will obviously counteract that. But from the finishes, from the undodgeable finishes, it might not be a very good idea to use them in general, because you go into if you want to continue pressure into the chain pin, into the pinning thing, you might lose frame advantage. Which, I mean, like, so that's what the case with Kyoshin at the moment. Kyoshin can't, if you land a light finisher with Kyoshin, you go into your Kaze stance heavy and your opponent can interrupt you. So we don't know if it's going to be interruptible or if it will beat that, or if maybe even it'll land at the same time and you'll bounce off, which will look silly, but it'll be something. And the same thing applies for the forward dodge heavy in chain. I think it's more likely that the hyper armor of that will allow you to use the forward dodge heavy in chain probably after anything, because judging by if the hyper armor starts at the faint timing, that's going to be about 400 or 500 ms into the move. I don't know how fast it is. It looks like it starts quite early into a dodge, so like 100 to 200 ms at least, at the fastest. So that is enough that you should normally beat you can't, if you have like 500 ms hyper armor on a heavy opener, then you will trade even with light, even if you're frame disadvantaged. So I think that will probably, and she's got the recovery cancel as well, so I think it's likely that she will be able to carry on attacking with the forward dodge heavy version, even if she can't use the impale without being interrupted. So
wait. This is assuming also that the defender is trying to light on, a buffered light on read. It's not like a reaction to something.
yeah. This is, but it's well, it's the defensive options the opponent has. So
Oh, right. Okay. Is it still possible that, like, if the if the pirate reads the light interrupt, is it possible that they can dodge cancel to side dodge attack?
yes, that'll be certainly possible. So talking of the dodge cancelling, that's something that we don't know. So they mentioned dodge cancelling off everything. We don't know if that means the chain bash as well. I'm assuming it does mean the chain bash. So the chain bash is probably going to be quite safe. I think it'll end up being safer than Shinobi's chain bash at the moment. Not the because you'll be able to dodge cancel into your dodge attacks to avoid the opponent's dodge attack, but you also got the forward dodge heavy from that, which looks quite fast. So depending on the guard environment of that, you might be able to avoid dodge guard breaks with that. We don't know what the recoveries on it are in general, and we know it can chain on hit, but we don't know if it can chain on miss from the regular gunshot. So it might be that you can essentially chain into your lights or the hyper armor heavy, which looks like they got hyper armor very early. So it might be It might be that the chain bash is very, very safe, which is probably okay considering that you only access it after a blocked heavy. So that's something. Somebody mentioned in chat, and we saw it a little bit earlier. While she doesn't seem to have, I mean, her weapon's quite short, so she probably doesn't have great hitboxes. She does have really, really good tracking on her chain heavies. On the whiffed bash, we saw that on the chain bash, and also on her pin. They all go a really long way forward, which seems to be a bit of a trend recently. We have like characters like Orochi with his chain heavy, Conqueror, the Conqueror rework with like the absolute reach on those unblockable heavies. So we don't. That looks like it's going to be quite strong, and that'll probably help her in team fights as well. So how's the character's peel? Well, she's got those side dodge attacks. Those will probably be quite good. They look like they've got quite a lot of side range.
And prediction, she can also probably use her blockable hyper move as well.
Yeah, I mean,
They haven't showcased the range of the zone,
And
so
considering the forward momentum of the hero, target soft bash could also be her peel.
yeah. I mean, it's in chain, so it's not like
It
they're
is in chain,
fine
yeah. But
there,
like
so
in a team fight, you know something's going wrong. You quickly just
yeah.
target, grab someone, and shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, unlike characters like there's a few characters who've got chain bashes. Like Kyoshin's chain bash has terrible range.
Yeah.
So you can't really use that as peel at all. Whereas this does seem to go like quite a long way. I mean, they showed it going off for a whiffed heavy. Of course, using the tier 3, she can peel for herself. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
You use your chain bash on somebody, and then okay, you're gonna get interrupted. No, I use the feat version of it, and then that bounces off and hits the other person. So that could be quite powerful. What else do we have on her? So neutral offense. So in terms, other than the blocked heavy, she has her forward dodge heavy with this soft feint to guard break, which is extra fast. So the question that we have for how viable is this going to be? Silver mentioned it earlier, and we had a little chat earlier about this. That it depends quite significantly on the guard break vulnerability of this forward dodge heavy at the startup. If it's like a regular heavy attack, or something like BP's neutral using the bulwark slash from neutral, that can get guard broken quite easily on prediction. But on the other hand, Jormungandr has a forward dodge heavy with a soft feint to guard break, and that thing has very low guard break vulnerability. So you can you can guard break Yorm's forward dodge heavy, it'll bounce off, and then he can grab you with a soft feint guard break. So if it's like that, this will not be vulnerable to guard break and startup at all, really. What do you about to say, Normie?
I was gonna say Yorm had that. When they standardized it, they made his vol normal.
No, they removed the hyper armor. The vulnerability on it is still really low.
Yeah.
I see.
So the hyper armor is later on Yorm. He can't
and this
trade and
has
then get a
substantial
guard
hyper
break.
armor.
And this character won't be able to trade and get a guard break either, because by the looks of things, the hyper armor starts after a feint. But he might still be able to bounce off guard breaks and get guard breaks on them. So that might be quite cool. Another thing will be the reactability of that feint animation. This is something that I personally can't really give much of a feedback on, and it was the kind of thing that you can't really tell from looking at. What do you think, Nomi?
About what are we talking? The in-chain bash or what?
The forward dodge heavy.
Neutral offense. Forward dodge heavy.
1 second, I'm just going to go paint the cat.
I mean,
She's yelling at me.
It's hard to
obviously, I
tell
have to
without having
see.
seen it in game. But...
Yeah, it's obviously really hard to tell. But where can you go to where they show it? I need to see the animation.
Give like 10 people a week to drill it, and suddenly it's just getting parried on reaction.
Because the animation didn't look over the top. Well, that might be pretty good. The flip she does is very important, actually. That's why you're gonna see that usually every move that does a spin or a flip is gonna be much harder to react to. That along with the indicator being or not being unusually high on your screen, like for example with Raider stunning tap and JJ top unblockable, that kind of determines the reactability of it. That one has a very big animation, so that's good. And we've yet to see where the actual indicator is, but it's like probably gonna be on the not the hardest, not the easiest, somewhere in the middle.
Does the soft feint guard break help with the reactability?
No, if anything, if it makes it worse.
Oh, really? That's surprising.
Because I mean, for example, even with Raider, hard feints catch more than soft feints. It's it's because the hard feint of you and the animation of you going back to neutral looks like extension of the attack animation after the feint, so it makes it look like you let go of it.
Oh, I see.
and that will fool people better. People that can actually react.
Yeah, I
to
guess
that.
it depends on the animation of the heavy the guard break feint, I guess, as well. Like if the guard break looks a bit more like an attack, then that might fool people.
Like especially for like with JJ's
That's
top
130 health.
unblockable.
Sorry, keep going.
Excuse.
No, no, sure, ask me.
The JJ's top unblockable where he lifts off the ground. It's such a big animation going back to neutral. Looks like he snaps back, so it really looks like a guard break. I mean, like a guard break, like extension of the animation.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting certainly to see that. So you quickly mentioned they mentioned the aspect of health. It's got more than 6. It's got more than 5. The normal 5 blocks. So you can see actually on the screen right now we've got it's against Kyoshin, which has got 120 health, and you've got an extra block of health available. So it's likely to be 130 because it was 125. It'd be on the block on the line. If it was 140, you'd get more than half of that. So like it'd be quite obvious. So that's probably 130. Stamina wise, looks to be about 120, judging by how much the zone used. So the zone is probably about 50 or 60 stamina. Seems to be what they're doing on making zones 50 stamina rather than 60. Yeah, because that's a real boon. So yeah, I think you'll probably have standard stamina. Of course, soft feints are cheaper than doing a regular feint, but then the confirmed bash after the heavies seems to be a fair amount of stamina. So I think that'll be more expensive than looking at this. It looked like it's more expensive than a confirmed lights, for example, which are normally only 6 stamina. This looked like it was quite a lot more than that for the for the confirmed bash. So we don't really know what her stamina economy will be like. Could be good, could be bad. I don't really know. So yes, reactability. Next thing about reactability is her chain bash mix-up. What do you think about that, Normie?
Well, if it's 500, then it's gonna be probably like one of the easier ones, because so far the hardest 500 ms chain bash we have to react to is Kyoshin's. And I'd say that anything other than that is pretty easy, if not like really easy. And this has a really big animation with her swapping hands, grabbing you, and all of that. I think it's gonna be very reactable.
So I would have agreed with you on just the animation of the bash itself, but the chain skewer that she does on the same side, we see there we go, there we see it there. To me, that looks quite similar to the startup of the bash. So I think it might be hard if the opponent's mixing up between the bash and the lights. I think it will probably be easier. But if they're mixing up between the bash and the chain skewer on the right guard, at least, I think it's going to be quite a lot harder.
It's not gonna be anything for any of the good quotation mark players.
You think so?
Because I mean, people would just see the indicator and know it's that like even people with slow reactions can see the indicator, because the attack is what, like 900 ms.
Yeah.
That's you can see the indicator and you can just, because that's the same thing current Shinobi's mix up of dodge forward heavy and kick. It's like I can see the indicator, the red indicator, and not dodge.
Okay.
So and
Yeah, that's
also
actually a good point. The indicator.
animation. I wanted to talk about animation of the whatever is called the pin. It looks like a good animation, at least on that one side. So usually stab animations are really good because it makes it very hard to react to the animation. But at the same time, there's no vertical on the animation, so parry flash might be pretty easy. But I don't know yet. Like I said, hard to say without seeing in game.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's weird how close we are to the realms of like fully reactable, fully unreactable. In that it's these tiny little details that are determining whether a move is going to be reactable to the top level because it's so far away. It's so borderline that you have to look for these little details. Whereas in the past, it was clearly this is reactable, this is not reactable. it was much easier to tell. So it's kind of is interesting to me at least how that'll play out, and it's hard for the devs as well because presumably nobody on the devs team has 130 ms reactions because none of them are going to be like 17. So they
Okay,
probably
I'll be the first dev to be 17. Okay,
so
I will take over the reactability section of For Honor devs.
yeah, I mean it is a complicated issue and it's difficult for them to check, I guess, unless they have like a means of running the game at like half speed or something.
I mean, I think it's still kind of hindered from the fact that it is still a 4v4 game. I realize that like if they did try to crank up the speed to be a little bit more like how other PvP games do it, then it's like like it'll probably be good for you guys, but I think for like anyone below the 90% mark, it just
That argument doesn't work though, because if you can't react to something already, then making it faster doesn't really affect anything.
It only affects it if you condense how long it takes to hit. So let's say you got a 500 ms chain light, right? It hits you 700 ms after the previous attack did because of the 200 ms chain link. Well, if you make it a 400 ms chain light and then you also keep that 200 ms chain link, then it does hit you faster, and that means it's going to be harder to react. Even to make the read, you have less time. But if you keep the time it hits you and you decrease the speed but increase the chain link, then the overall pace of the game doesn't increase. Everything hits you at the same time. They can't get more attacks off in a certain amount of time, but the speed, like the reactability of it, will go down. At least that's what I think.
And then the
right,
game's
especially for guys of the good quote players brackets.
Yeah, but also like it doesn't make a difference if you can't react to something now, then you're not going to be able to react to it when it's a little bit sped up.
No. That's a good point.
And also, it's likely to be lower damage because the moment you've got things like 500 lights. We've seen this one's light finishes of 14 damage, right? Well, if you're reacting to 500 lights, I mean the damage of 500 lights is chosen because people can reaction parry them sometimes. If you're if you're the upper end of the reaction spectrum, so they can't be too low damage because realistically, they have to be like half as much as a light parry punish because you can react to them half the time if you're mullying. If the difference is if the mix up is between light or heavy, then half the time you're going to get it right. Whereas the omnidirectional 400 ms lights are normally 9 or 10 damage, so significantly lower than chain 500 lights because those ones they are in 3 directions. You got to make a 3-dimensional read. It's a third of the damage of a light parry punish, if you follow me. So
put the damage through the script again, please.
Yeah. One thing that really does need to be stated though, For Honor doesn't have faster attacks. Like it's not a thing that devs don't want to. That'd be the easy option. The issue is For Honor is a game built around clarity of animations. The game has to also look pretty. The whole point of For Honor was that it isn't Street Fighter V and it isn't Chivalry. It's the middle ground between the two. That's the entire genre of this game. Cannot make attacks substantially faster. We are basically at the borderline of how fast we can push things. You can't make the game look worse. So we need to find ways of making things more unreactable without just upping the speed dialogue.
What's that Raiders old
but then
TT
you have
animation?
like we already have 400 ms lights that look fine. It depends on how big the animation is. Like Tiandi's chain lights look great. Nusha's
but we
chain
have
lights,
that stuff
whatever.
like then we get into territory like
I mean,
chain
we can get character
finishers.
per character, but the point is the game still looks fluid. Like
Yeah.
the animations, even at the worst end of our spectrum, still look substantially better than games like Street Fighter, Tekken, etc. We have like better jabs in quotations. They're not jabs; they don't act the same. But our light attacks look far better. That's also because they're slower. That's the entire reason it's like that.
Yes, that is absolutely true, and obviously, blindly speeding up everything is not going to be a choice to.
And I mean, we're in a really good place right now because like nothing, like to anyone in the game, nothing is 100% reactable right now. Like nothing, something will catch regardless. Sure, there's and like the people that I would say actually can exploit reactability of things is less than a handful. So I think we're like in a good place.
I'm not sure I could overall agree about it being in a good place for the overall. I mean, at the top level, yes. At the the problem is that because it's fast enough to be at that good place at the top level where only a very small handful of people can even exploit reactability. It does mean that lower down the scale, that people are dealing with 500 lights and they're basically unreactable to them. And if you're on,
but none of them can react to it. It's not like nobody has an advantage down there.
I mean,
so like,
but the
they
issue
do because
there
you've got a
become
player who can react. It's not
but
like
there's
it's
also
not
an
like
issue at lower levels where players like, because now we're getting 500 ms untouchable lights, right? And you have players like that are slower who cannot actually parry the untouchable lights that they're reading between. So there is that issue there where they're giving tax properties where they basically break the ease of it for the slower players.
I mean,
the less
yeah, but
experienced.
then that's properties. I'm just talking about speed in general.
Yeah, as in just giving lights undodgeables, because that basically screws up what they're teaching new players and slower players.
Yeah,
It's dodge if you can't react to the light, or like instead of making the read of what direction, here you go, it's a dodge, but they can think GB. It's a harder punish for you.
I could piggyback off of that, and there's an even bigger issue that kind of brings up when you mentioned the new player experience. The new player experience has a broader issue, and that's that there are resources available like the game plan and whatnot that talks about the game mechanics. There are resources available from like the Discord dojo right now, freeze and all that good stuff. But the new players, they don't like, it's not that they can or can't react to something or that they're put into a certain mindset in my opinion, because they don't understand the mechanics. And the mechanics are they're very there's a lot of mechanics in the game, and there's nothing that's in the game that's designed to be very straightforward and simple that they look to. And even though we direct them
there's
outside
nothing
of
that
the
tells
game,
you that these lights you should be able to react to, and these ones you shouldn't.
what's
That's for certain.
well, not necessarily that, but like frame advantage and frame disadvantage, that's nowhere.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think the issue we're conflating reaction speed with skill. Like, it doesn't matter how. In reaction speed, be honest, isn't skill. It's just how lucky you are when you're with your genetics and your age.
That's not true. Completely true.
No, it is to a
Does
certain
change your
extent
reaction
because
speed?
you can't because people obviously you can train your actions to reach that single speed, but you can't surpass the single speed that your limit. It doesn't matter how much I know about the game. For example, I'm like a fairly knowledgeable person, but I can't react to final res lights more than like if there's in one direction I can react, but when it's multiple directions, my reaction speed is too slow. I just can't. So for me, I'm dealing with uh, 14 damage, 400 millisecond undodgeable lights. But
no, I get what Nargoz is saying. I get what he's saying.
I mean,
I
Norway's
think
right, but it's just not.
the bigger issue I think is that if I could use this word, I feel like the game's fundamentals, the core elements that comprise what we call the art of battle, is very, dysfunctional with everything else that we're typically taught or what to expect in character rework. That's kind of the reason why we're getting so many of these reworks and buffs that work against the fundamentals. Whereas for other PvP games, character designs tend to complement the fundamentals.
I mean, no, nothing goes against the fucking fundamentals. It's just that they're not taught properly.
The reason why I say this is because there's no real way to play neutral in this game. There is no neutral aspect to this game. Like again, I'm just going to use this as an example to kind of give you an idea, like what is neutral strategy and how they do a better job teaching new players and casual players of what to expect in the game. Like perhaps I'm going to use Tekken as an example or Street Fighter. It really doesn't matter because at this point we're just talking about those traditional fighters where two people are facing, on the side. You're looking at the fight from the side, like you're seeing two combatants with a certain distance between them, and it boils down to one of three reads that's going to happen. Right, one player can either rush in to initiate an unreactable mix-up. Or what's going to happen is they're either going to do a preemptive attack to stop the other player from rushing in and doing the same to them. And then there is a third option, which is essentially a whiff punish. In other words, if they're reading that the other person is going to try to preemptively strike their attempts of rushing in, they can do a whiff punish, which is basically, So
Point is
that
that
creates
Let's just
a dynamic
drag this
interaction.
back in, For Honor.
Yeah.
Like,
So
the point
going
is,
back to For Honor,
yeah, no.
this fundamental doesn't really exist because you have basic attacks, which is light and heavies, which are very easy.
Shut the fuck up. We're going very off course here.
This is really off course, but also just to say one thing: we don't have a neutral in For Honor, but our neutral is Dominion. The game mode itself provides that neutral. The entire clock, the renown, everything there is providing that neutral play. In duels, we don't have it.
I don't know, right. Yeah, that doesn't in Dominion because you have the tactical level, but there is
you have the tactical level to make up for that.
That the basic kit of a For Honor character, which is to say 500 ms lights, 800 ms heavies, and a dodge attack, doesn't function in terms of offense. If you had a character that has that, there's nothing. It does nothing. And that is a significant weakness. We look at these characters and we're like, okay, this new character going to have neutral offense, and we have to examine like what special moves they've got and what particular parts of their kit they've got. But because there's no the basic level of neutral offense in the game is 0. You have 500 ms lights and 800 ms heavies, and that's it. You need to have an unreactable bash or an unreactable unblockable mix-up or something.
Yeah, my point is there's no universal unreactable mix-up is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
There's nothing within the basic fundamentals of the game that allows every hero to have something unreactable that's accessible from the art of battle itself. Every single unreactable mix-up we see in the game right now is from hero specifics.
I agree with you. But I think we'll need to move on from that topic into the next thing. Question from Robo Karate: would you compare the heavy finisher hyper armor to Ward or Warmonger? I think it's much closer to Warlord.
I think it's same timing as Warlord as well.
Yeah, I think it might even be earlier than Warlord. I think it might be Raider levels, because the white flash is basically instant. So
also, I see Warlord animation. I like, ooh.
I mean, it does look like it's got Warlord, very similar animations to Warlord.
I mean, the finisher left heavy is Warlord.
The finisher
animation.
heavy all look like Warlord level. I think.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you can. So.
Yeah, no, this hero does have reused animations. People have already been saying in chat, like Tiandi, GB, etc.
Yeah.
Yes, they're masked better, but they're still reused for the most part.
I think they look like. I think we're looking at like a level of animations like Kyoshin, where
since
they are
Kyoshin, animation's been pretty good, to be fair.
But they look really good, yeah. It looks like I think we saw that the neutral the chain bash looks to be like Peacekeeper's guard break, for example. And those kind of things. The forward dodge, not the forward, the top skewer looks like Black Prior's forward dodge heavy. And there's a few other. I mean, I only spotted a few. I'm sure when the character comes out,
people make these.
And they'll be like, everything is from another character apart from like a handful of moves. But honestly, to me, I think that's actually smart if they look good. If it's still got its own personality, if the character's got its own personality, then I think that will be fine. I think it's like the Kyoshin has a very distinct look and feel and personality to his moves, even though we've like gone through and found that every single one of them is taken from an existing animation. I think apart from maybe the zone. Oh, hey, Freeze, come and join us. How are we doing? So I think, I mean, whilst they are reused animations, I don't think I personally don't find them to be annoying. I don't think it's absolutely fine.
I think for it being reused, though, they did an amazing job, like masking it all together to make it flow into a really nice kit.
Yeah,
like, I think everything just flows super nicely. Like they did a phenomenal job with this hero.
Yeah, we'll have to wait till we've had our hands on it and find out it does not, even in case it's like all falls apart on closer inspection. A little bit like how Kyoshin did when the Kyoshin has actually ended up being a good character, but when he first came out, the chain links and things like that were really horrible and they just didn't work very well. So hopefully it looks like the speed of things and like the chain links look good. The dodge cancels that they showed us look really nice, so that I don't think we'll have like that clunky issue like we had with some dodge cancels on some reworks in the first in testing grounds and things. So I think that will I think the character probably will flow nicely together. But on paper, it looks good, mostly, and we will see how that plays out for certain. Yeah, you're Robocard. You mentioned you're right, but you don't notice these reused animations until you like put them side by side with the other character. And like, oh wow, like was the one Kyoshin's Kaze stance heavy is Valk's finisher heavy, apparently, and I did not know that until I was shown. Find out they borrow the gun animations from Armor 3. No, they'll probably be from Rainbow 6, right? Is there a
Assassin's Creed? They'll probably
No.
start straight from Black Flag.
Yeah, I think the right side animation of the pin is actually a thing from Black Flag.
Could be.
Oh, really?
Yes, I recognized it immediately. I don't know if it's actually that, but that's what it looks like.
It also kind of looks like Sense.
Yeah, it does look a little bit like. I think it looks like Sense.
Yeah, it also could just be a scent heavy, like a normal scent heavy, non-charged, delayed. I mean, made longer.
Yeah.
Because the charged one, he fucking jumps.
Yes, you're right. And it is the thing is when you come to reusing animations, it's very difficult to know when it comes to reusing animations between Ubisoft games, but the characters have different skeletons. When they did some of these animation deep dives in the previous Warriors Den, but they've shown you like you can see all the different bones that they've got, and animations are all fitted to a skeleton, but you can't swap an animation from one skeleton to a different skeleton if it's got slightly different bones. So in Assassin's Creed, if they've got an extra bone in the spine, for example, they won't be able to use any of the animations from Assassin's Creed on foreigner characters, for example. So, and that's something that changes quite a lot from game to game because you have things like where you put weapons, where weapons stick are often bones as well. So they're all being the animations, and then you try and put that. You have all these extra bones that don't look like the human. They're not just human bones. They're things that the game engine uses. For example, having the cloth physics flopping around or something, and then you try and put that one animation to a different skeleton with a bone that you don't expect because they've got the way they calculate root motion is different or something, and it just breaks completely and it won't work. So, I mean, there are softwares that do animation retargeting and that kind of thing, but I don't know if they'd go to the effort to do that to swap an animation from Black Flag, yeah,
right.
to
back to the stream.
Yes, back to the stream. I know. Sorry, we all we go fairly chilled. Feats viability. Well, we talk about viability in 1v1s. Moveset's going to win 1v1s. What do you think? Do you think the character at first glance will be useful in 4s, Normie?
Normie. Probably way.
That's right.
I'll probably answer this. He'll be able to use zone, but it seems it all depends on our hitboxes and trajectory, and also the like how the animation's pronounced on the unblockable, obviously. But because her hitboxes are what make and break her right now, because her entire playstyle revolves around basically jumping back and forth in a team fight. If she has big hitboxes, she'll be an amazing pick and might substitute Shinobi. We'll also talk about the Shinobi soon.
Yeah, I think it's interesting they're going for another hero where, whilst I do agree absolutely the hitboxes are going to be important, I think it's interesting that they're going for another hero which fits a team fighter archetype without necessarily having giant sweeping weapons. Like Orochi before his nerfs and like Shinobi right now, this character doesn't look like she's going to have huge side sweeping attacks, maybe on the zone and maybe the side dodge heavies, but the forward dodge, like the pin and her her bash and so on, the forward dodge heavy, they're all single target stabbing type things, but with very long range. So they're going for, and she's got the mobility with all the dodge cancels. So I think they're going for we're gonna have. I think we'll be able to break down what we call a team fighter into two different archetypes of team fighters: those with hitboxes and those with mobility and range. And I think she will fit more into the latter one of those.
I reckon she'll be really slippery. Not really slippery. Like we had Orochi that when the comp player said, "Oh, it's unfun. You can't catch him, and you need to pay so much attention." And so I think she won't be annoying to that degree, but I think she'll be slippery, proper slippery.
And it also depends on her feats, because right now she needs a good tier 2 feat, and tier 2 feats are usually the strongest. So if they don't flub it up and give her bad tier 2s, she has a good chance.
I want to see the utility of those feats.
I mean, tier 1, tier 3, and tier 4 have utility. Tier 2 has nothing. Tier 2 is genuinely dead weight on a kit. It's like her zone attack needs to change in some way.
I feel like her tier 2 personally would just probably be used for mid clear at most.
But it's not
the way
big
it
enough
looks.
for that. It's like old Fiat.
That's fair.
Like
worse
the
than
shoulders.
Old Fiat had aggressive hitbox. This is like bear trap
I mean,
size.
like original Fiat, like you'll see it in the campaign. Literally.
Oh
like,
yeah,
the
that
circle
one. Yeah.
underneath
Old
heroes,
Fiat.
basically. Like you can just see it here. Like that is not large enough to clear mid.
Yeah, that's smaller than Arrow Strike, I'd say.
Yeah, that is smaller than Arrow Strike. So Arrow Strike does this, but better. And depending on the cooldowns, if this has more of a cooldown than Arrow Strike, it is literally directly worse.
Yeah, I mean,
it has it. It's used in lock as a fast flow, but as we've covered already, knock feats are terrible, especially when it comes to throwable ones. Bombs.
Yeah, Arrow Strike is also instant, like no matter the range. This thing has travel time.
Yeah, Arrow Strike.
If it's further away, you might not even reach in the first place.
You point, and then you have the circle arms. That's it. This one has animation where she steps back, throw distance, lands, arms, then explodes. It's
yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to like put this side to side with Jean, who's feeling ruse, and see like because Jean, who's got quite a quick animation where he throws it and it blows up as soon as it hits somebody or they're in range.
I mean,
So
it lands on the floor. It does arm as well. It's just the arm is really short and it doesn't have a visible circle for us to see.
Yeah.
So these two feats are literally in the same boat. So Zon, whose is fire damage, probably less revenge, can work as a trap because this one blows up. There's no staying on the floor for it.
Yeah. I think you're right that the tier 2 is going to be her alternate choice is going to be which could be amazing, of course, if she has Juggernaut, for example.
Yeah, if she has something like Jug, it'd be great.
I could see that.
But then if she has, I don't know, Executioner's Respite and I don't know, Smoke Bomb, yeah, she has no tier 2 at that point.
But Smoke Bomb would actually work on this character as well. Actually, now you think about it in terms of
on this character, but again, Smoke Bomb, as we've covered before, I believe, has an issue right now where it gives a white outline on the enemy character that uses it. So it's quite clear to see their animation. So it doesn't really do its job.
So what do you normally you've been saying that it's quite good in gank situations, isn't it?
Smoke bomb is still perfectly fine. Not very strong, but a strong feat.
Yeah, but like
you're not gonna be reacting to any fucking outlines in the middle of a fight or when you're getting ganked or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a range thing as well. So you're right on top of them.
Indicators that you're going away.
Yeah,
but I think animations are still pretty damn.
Well, it depends.
If it's also a snow map, that's one extra layer because on the snow map the blinding of stars is still brighter.
Yeah, wacky. What about her tier 4s, Normie? Do you think this tier 4 is going to be usable in fights?
I mean, definitely. It's I did think they said it hits teammates. They didn't say if it knocks down teammates.
They said it hits teammates. They also said it's like Yorms, and Yorms hits teammates but doesn't knock them down. It doesn't knock you down here, so I think it's just going to be like Yorms.
If it's exactly like Yorms, then it's going to be like very strong tier 4 among the strongest. Because I mean, it's good that it hits teammates because otherwise you could guarantee like how much is the damage? 40, 50?
It's 40 direct damage.
40 direct. And if it didn't hit teammates, then the teammate could easily get 24 into like 30 something into guaranteed. Because you can hit them on the way down, but since it staggers enemies, then it's perfectly fine.
Could you be a good mid laner? Is the question. Well,
depends on her dodge cancels and dodge attack hitbox.
Yeah.
Her current light and heavy hitboxes don't seem like they're gonna have the best width, but dodge attacks typically have a lot of width. Like even Zark attack that shouldn't really have too much width. His side dodge attacks have great hitboxes.
Yeah, and she's going to be able to dodge cancel them as well.
Yeah,
So
and she
it'll
has
be
dodge
like Orochi, who can dodge. He can clear mid actually quite quickly because he can dodge attack over and over again and actually cover a large amount of ground and hit a lot of minions. So if she's like that, and if they've got better hitboxes than Orochi's dodge attacks, then she'll be able to clear mid very, very quickly. Whether or not, I don't think we've talked about. You say mid laner, but I think there is a distinction to be made. It's probably my fault, really. How I sort of tried to like go about this, how characters had different roles. In particular, mid lane was a big role for a character, and that was true a year or 2 years ago, when body count was very much a thing, and the meta revolved around keeping control of mid and farming mid. But nowadays, the meta in Dominion is very much more dynamic, and characters don't tend to have quite as strong positional roles in terms of. I mean, essentially, mid laners don't exist as characters that just do mid. Will she be good at clearing mid? That is a different question to whether she will be a mid laner. And I think she could be all right at clearing mid. We saw that Kyoshin, for example, can actually clear mid really fast because he can do his Fujin zone into Fujin Force, and then Kaze zone, Fujin Force, etc., and just lawnmower through the whole area. And if she can do the same thing with dodge attacks, for example, then she could be very good at clearing mid, and probably good at fighting in mid as well, because mobility with unlocked dodges, unlocked zones, and that kind of thing. A bit like the old Nabushi.
Yep. And now that Norman's back, we can ask him what he thinks about the hero's viability or potential viability. Predictions.
Well, I think it all depends on that pin and how that plays out, and how it behaves. Because depending on how good of a gank tool it is, first of all, I don't see the character being anywhere above a possible comfort pick for a fourth character. He's definitely not gonna be better. He's not gonna be better than that. And the worst I can see is like slightly above average. So seems like a good balance right now. Depends if they nerf feats or not, because of course they're gonna nerf the tier 3. But I hope they don't do a Griffin and bring the whole other kit down with it.
Yeah, I don't see her. Looking at her kit, I don't see anything that's completely busted on it.
But raw prediction, like highest is like an A- in Dom.
Yeah.
And lowest is like a B-, B, like somewhere around there.
Yeah.
In 1v1s, it's nowhere above like a low A.
Yeah.
Because if your only mix-up, the only possible mix-up that's really strong is the pin, and kind of a little bit dodge forward heavy, but other than that, she doesn't have anything crazy in 1v1, so.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so I think we've probably covered everything we're going to cover about anything we can reasonably predict about the pirate.
I do want to add one thing
go.
about this segment that's being shown. We have the renown ticker in the bottom left corner.
We do? Oh yeah, kill plus 20 renown. So do you think they would? But it also has first blood. Was first blood on? Oh, did it still give you the first blood pop-up? I can't remember. Didn't give us first blood renown.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. So, but it didn't give. You're right. That is testing ground dominions. You're right. Or testing ground dominion version, and it doesn't give him a renown bonus for having a first blood either. So good spot there, Natar. Yeah, that is.
So we might be getting the dumb changes come to set.
Yeah.
This is a faster build, or maybe we're just going to get the renowned.
Yeah, I mean, it could. Yeah, this could also just be a.
Yeah, it could just be the renowned ticker.
I mean, clearly this is a dev build because they would have some like instant revives, that kind of stuff. So.
And heals. They're quite funny to look at.
Yeah,
they have animations for it. It looks so cool.
It does the Kyoshin animation for both heroes.
Really?
Quick.
I don't know if it was discussed, but do we know if her tier 1 guarantees a heavy or not? Or did they just do that as a showcase for
No,
like
tier
the
1
debuff?
What they did, no, the
A
tier
heavy
1 doesn't
guarantee
guarantee
tier 1.
anything.
Okay.
But I think that is guaranteed 100%. I can confirm from now is if you go to where he showed the target switch tier 3, if you hit a heavy on like one person, target switch the tier 3, and then target switch back and buffer light on the guy you first hit with the heavy, the light's gonna be guaranteed as long as the ricochet hits. I
Yeah,
can
because
guarantee that.
it staggers the stagger basically.
Yeah,
I can 100% guarantee that. I don't know if you can find it, but I
should
don't.
be this.
Yeah, that's something to test when it comes out. And
Yeah,
it
if
could
you
be
do that and light the worm, it's gonna be guaranteed.
yeah, that seems
It's not much though, is it?
Well, it'll be the
It's
chain.
not like more than 100 ms, right?
I mean,
We're talking travel time of the bullet.
Not to mention that if you do it with multiple people and you lock onto the say the fourth guy that gets hit by it, you can easily confirm a heavy.
Yeah, probably a heavy even. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and because we know it chains as well, so you'll be into your chain heavies or
these
chain
feats chain.
You don't know what the link time is, but it's.
Also-
I mean that could, but I think that's actually going to be kind of cool though. Like I
mean, it's
like
cool,
that.
but depends on how cool it is in game.
Yeah,
how
well,
it works
how cool it is
because
to have it done
some
against
John
Swedish.
Wick type stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that could be a pretty like. Well, I'm not even mad.
I mean, getting Jormungandr
He ricocheted a
BTB
bullet
back
to
on
me
day.
off 3 people and then hit me with a sword in the face. It's like, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, it's like John Wick the character if you can get that off.
Talking of John Wick and being a kung fu ninja, the last thing we have
That is
today.
the worst segue I've ever had.
It was a great segue. Is the last thing that was revealed were some changes for Shinobi that are coming in this patch when the hero comes out, the mid-season patch. And they mentioned it kind of offhand in the middle of the Dominion series segment at the end. So the 4 things that were mentioned were you're going to be able to punish the kick a little bit more easily.
Yep, we have the segment.
Oh, here we go.
Well,
I don't think this is going to the stream.
Yeah, I haven't. My browser's all of them up. I can replay that for you guys if you want.
Well, they said, okay, let me just take it away because I already have things to talk about. Well, they said they're going to nerf the shooting stars. That's one thing. So they're probably going to lower the damage because the damage is kind of broken right now. They're hopefully going to make it so you can't shotgun people with it.
Well, they said that he won't confirm a kick anymore. So
yeah, but only one needs to hit to confirm a kick. So
yeah,
they're basically nerfing the shit out of tier 2.
Well, we don't. Well, so we don't know if the shotgun is going to be fixed as well. We don't know if the damage is going down on it. We know that it's going to stop
and attacking.
The hit stun, maybe.
It might be the hit stun. It might be the link between. You might have a slightly longer recovery on it. We don't know if that is going to be
what they should change. I can't imagine them.
I think it's
removing
probably.
the stagger.
Yeah, I think it's most likely going to be the recovery link increased. And they wouldn't need to do it by much either. But 100 ms or so would probably allow you to iframe a kick.
I mean, it's already really tight to get it confirmed because if it's too close, it hits too fast. And if it's too far, your kick misses. So it needs to be somewhere like very tight. But okay, that's one thing. Then they said they're gonna make kick punishable. Depends how punishable and by who.
Yeah.
I think I've already discussed it with people. If they wanted to still be usable, well, a good move, it would have to be something of the sort of you can, if you buffer a backflip, like or lower the input window of the backflip,
Yeah. So
like, oh, you can do it on prediction and it avoids the dodge attack, but if you don't do it, then the kick has enough recovery to eat the attack.
Yeah.
So if they do that, he's still gonna be okay.
Yeah. They need to make sure the recovery is not so long that if you get a guard break on it, regardless of whether they flip or not, because then that's going to make it just very, very bad.
And then they said they're nerfing his stamina, which again, I'm gonna use that as a different point.
Flip.
But yeah, they said they're gonna. Wait, what were the words again? Play it again.
Well, they said they're increasing stamina costs on some things.
No. They said the backflip. They said something related to the backflip.
You say backflip?
Went from testing ground, firstly, we're going to take the front/side in time to the backflip when necessary. Thirdly,
no, go back a bit. They said they're gonna.
Said they're gonna reduce the window of backflip
and introduce some moments where
I'm hoping they're not gonna remove
it's worth spending that
the
and lastly,
not remove, but like reduce the accessibility of backflip.
Yeah, I think what's likely is that judging from the fact that he said that you won't be able to react to something and then backflip, but saying that you'll still be able to backflip if there's a miss. Essentially, you won't be able to react to something and backflip means that you can backflip even if you miss. Essentially, so they're not. I don't think they're going to do an Orochi and take the backflip away on miss. I think it's just going to be a prediction thing, so you have to input
I hope so.
predictions, which I think is sensible. Yeah.
But I can already tell you that he will be out of meta. He already had relatively little going for him. Really, the only good thing was what's still there, which I guess is the gank. Now that he's not going to be the only thing he did was gank. Like he gets blown up. It's all of these things, and now that he's going to be easier to hit, more prone to being blown up, he's going to be out. And people have already stopped practicing him in scrims.
Well, interesting. We'll see how. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be.
Obviously, we have to see when it drops. But
yeah, I'd put a prediction. We'll see a Shinobi in the grand finals of the Dominion series still.
Like the character is not going to be bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just that there's characters that have more to offer, i.e., Zanhu.
Yeah, but people are already running Zanhu and Shinobi, so
that's just one team. It's one team because they don't have a player that plays Shigochi.
Oh, okay. Well, then a lot of teams were playing Shigoki.
Living brought back Shigoki.
The only two people that played Shigoki were, well, first of all, there was only Tot, but then I don't know if we count him because he played it back when everybody played it, and then their team doesn't play between tournaments because they were going on vacation for 100 years. And then you had Living, who was, I was giving him coaching for his team, and I was pushing him, dude, play fucking Shigoki. He's still good. I sub for Nemesis, I destroy with Shigoki. Okay, Shigoki's still fine. In the LCQ, we only saw one Shigoki.
Yeah.
And it was Living, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And today, I've seen a Shigoki on RMG. And they replaced the Shinobi with the Shigoki.
Interesting. Well, I genuinely think it'd be very interesting because I think they didn't mention anything about his damage, so his damage is still very, very high. They specifically didn't mention the shotgun, so they mentioned that they won't confirm a kick, but they didn't mention about whether or not it'll still be the stars will still shotgun people. It's interesting with the stamina. It could be that they've just gotten rid of like the fact that you regen stamina on backflips and forward roll. They might just have made it so you pause stamina on that, which would kind of make sense to be honest. So he still might have really good stamina. He just won't be able to do it for literally forever. I don't know if it's going to be like fully like fully destroyed. You still see people doing people doing the backflip on prediction, even though currently they can, in theory, react to dodge attacks. I still see people doing backflip and getting guard broken, so I don't think it's going to make a giant difference. By the sounds of things, but of course, it could be completely wrong with this. It could literally be removing backflip off everything. So maybe he'll be terrible, but I hope he won't be. I hope they've seen how how people enjoy playing the character and that the character is good, and decided they're not going to destroy it like they did with Orochi. And Shinobi's not nearly as much of a fan hated, like, everybody always has always hated Orochi. So and complaints about Orochi are always like way louder than any other complaints about other heroes. So they probably don't have the same pressure with Shinobi, who was such an underdog for such a long time and is a bit of a community favorite. So I think we're probably safer than it won't be destroyed. At least I'm cautiously optimistic.
If I may, I'd like to add that technically, if you think about it, and I don't want to get too much into speculation because we don't know what the numbers are yet. We don't know what exactly is going to be nerfed in terms of stamina or exactly how much. But they made it very clear that you're going. They said something to the effect of you're going to have to make a decision on whether or not you want to, commit to that action or not. So it leads me to believe that it's going to be a harsh or a decently sized nerf to where stamina's gonna have to you're gonna have to be a lot more mindful of it. So technically, if you look at it in that regard, we're getting a nerf on the tier two the shotgun stars, which I think we can all agree it needs some type of a nerf. However, if Shinobi gets to the point to where they need stamina to the point where they're replacing slip through on their tier three with Nuki Kubi for the stamina, technically you could consider that a nerf to 2 feats.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think that he will reach that point because
I believe it's probably more of us trying to say now have stamples and backflip and front roll rather than saying like, because right now with a backflip front roll, which is being constantly complained about on Reddit, people keep uploading and saying this character has unlimited stamina. So they'll probably put stamples in for that.
You can blame me for that.
I mean, it does in a way. You can infinitely flip kick somebody at the moment because you regenerate stamina during the backflip, and there's enough delay window there that you can do it over and over again and never run out of stamina.
I can tell you exactly how long it takes. If you do you can do it infinitely if you delay it. However, it takes almost exactly 3 minutes if you just spam backflip and bash, backflip and bash, backflip and bash. You'll put a JJ out of stamina, they'll get their stamina back, they'll go back out of stamina, and you're still going. It's almost exactly 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I think there's a long way between that and making him feel like asthmatic, like Warden sometimes feels. So I think he will still probably have very good stamina economy, or at least good stamina economy, and not just like it won't be nuts like it is currently. You never see a Shinobi going out of stamina because they can backflip, and then it's basically Sifu stance, but it's Sifu backflip essentially. I think,
but without double stam rage.
yeah. So I think they will. I think he'll just go from being nuts to being normal. I don't think we'll see Shinobi suddenly going out of stamina everywhere. At least I hope not. But I mean, I mean, judging by the new hero looking really kind of solid on paper, like normally mentioned, is not going to doesn't look busted S tier, doesn't look doesn't look garbage tier, looks kind of like good to viable but not crazy. That's quite encouraging to me. It's quite encouraging for me to see a character that looks like he's going to be good and work, but not going to be broken and not going to be like massively underpowered. Because it's very rare for that to be the case with characters. Normally they come out with something that's either busted strong, or they come out and dead on launch, dead on arrival, and don't work. So it's very reassuring to me to see a character that on paper at least looks like they're going to work really well. And Kyoshin almost reached that when it was on paper he looked good, and then in practice they had horrible chain links, but those were fixed really quickly, and the Kyoshin's actually a really solid character now. So that leads me to be a bit more confident in things than in the past. We've maybe been more skeptical. But yeah, I think that's all I really want to say on the matter. I'm looking forward to trying out the hero when it comes out. We will definitely do when he comes out, we'll do a more in-depth dojo, on details and all the techs and ganks people discover and stuff like that. So yeah. Quickly, I'll just quickly check. Oh, how much damage do you think your Pale to do? I don't know. Maybe it should do 27 rather than 30, but it's a bit early to say. I don't know if it's like the
Need to
damage on the
personally, basically.
yeah, the damage on the rest of her kit looks kind of reasonable. So
Looks
it
low
also
even.
makes sense to have one. Oh yeah, or even low. Like her finisher heavy's got high primer, but they're only doing 27 damage if you include the bash afterwards. So it might be that's just like the one thing that she's got that does loads of damage, other than her tier 3 feat. So maybe it's justified having that thing be the focus of her kit, and
Yeah.
high damage.
I feel like personally, if I would nerf it, if they would ever nerf it, is like make it like just like a max like 30 damage at least. Like maybe like 25 for the impale, and then the extra 5 with the gunshot, so it's like 35 because the wall spot also.
Maybe. Yeah. We'll see how.
I would
we'll
agree. I would agree with that.
I probably wouldn't go as low as that. Actually, I think I'd probably leave it at like, if it was 27 damage, then with the gunshot it'd be 32, which is equivalent to the high damage unblockables like raiders and so on. But those have much bigger hitboxes. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's I think it might end up not being too much damage actually, and it might be fine.
Yeah, I think we also got to take in like part two. If it's going to be used in the gank, we have to take part of the revenge game because it's not like skewer where it's bleed and it doesn't give as much revenge as like direct
It does
damage
now
would.
give revenge at the start, so
Yeah.
and this is damage is all front loaded as well, so it's going to give 30 revenge on. It'll be better than, for example, Kyoshin's, which has only 15 damage to start off with, and then adds 10 damage onto it. But the initial revenge is quite low, so I think it'll be the same in terms of skewers as ganking. But we'll see. We'll be streaming when the drops gets on. We will be doing the regular dojo things. So we will be streaming a bit. I'm not sure. We're not going to be going like a marathon session or anything like that. I'm not going to be. I don't have enough words in me to claim that 100,000 steel. I think you'll have to rely on the sheep for if you want drops forever. So yeah, I think that's all from me. Anything else from Nutella and Norgos and Normie? Freeze?
Nope.
All good.
Add me, we can play Tarkov.
All right. Okay. Well, have a lovely afternoon, everybody else. And I think that's bye. Goodbye.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.